The dusty wind rolled across the western plains, carrying with it the echoes of a world that forgot mercy long ago. The small town of Redwater stood still beneath the blazing afternoon sun, its people gathering in the square like vultures circling over a fallen beast. In the center of it all, bound in chains, knelt a man, broad-shouldered, sun-scarred, wild-eyed. His long hair, matted with dirt and blood, clung to his face like a symbol of defiance. They called him Savage. No one knew his true name, and no one cared to ask. Rumor said he'd been captured after killing 3 men who'd gone after him for trespassing on ranch land. Others whispered he was half Apache, half outlaw, too dangerous to live, too proud to kneel. The sheriff stood on the wooden platform, sweat glistening under his hat brim, reading out the notice for all to hear. This man stands guilty of murder, theft, and rebellion against civilized law. By the order of Redwater's council, he'll be sold to the highest bidder before being turned over for labor or hanging. The crowd jeered, their voices a mix of curiosity and cruelty. Men spat tobacco at the ground. Women clutched their shawls tighter, and children stared wide-eyed at the legend kneeling before them. The sheriff gave a nod, and 2 deputies yanked the man to his feet. He didn't flinch. His gaze swept across the faces before him, no fear, no plea. Only a quiet fire burning behind those storm-gray eyes. Then came the bidding. A rancher offered $20. Smirking as he said, "I'll take him to break horses. Let's see how savage he really is." Laughter followed. Another man shouted, "He ain't worth that much. Should just put a bullet in him." The sheriff shrugged. "We'll take what we can get." And just when the hammer was about to fall, a voice cut through the noise, clear, steady, and commanding. "Don't hurt him. I'll buy him." The words silenced the mob. All eyes turned to see a figure stepping forward from the edge of the crowd. Her boots struck the dirt with purpose, and her presence carried more weight than anyone's badge or gun. Without hesitation, she walked straight up to the platform, her hand gripping a leather pouch heavy with coins. "I said, I'll buy him." The sheriff frowned. "You sure you know what you're getting into, miss? This one's dangerous." Her gaze never wavered. Dangerous men are only dangerous when they've got nothing left to live for. The crowd murmured, confused. "Call him Savage all you want," she said, her tone slicing through the air like a blade. "But I see a man worth saving." For a moment, even the outlaw's eyes softened, barely noticeable, but enough to catch the light of something human still left inside him. The sheriff, unsure what to do, counted the coins, then nodded reluctantly. "He's yours." Chains clinked as the deputies shoved him toward her. But she didn't flinch. She stood firm, her eyes level with his as if daring him to believe in something again. "You're free from them now," she said quietly, though her voice trembled ever so slightly. "But if you're coming with me, you'll have to learn what it means to be more than what they call you." He didn't speak, didn't bow, didn't thank her. He simply looked at her, long and hard, as if trying to understand why someone would trade gold for a man everyone else wanted dead. Then, wordlessly, he followed. The crowd parted as the two walked down the dusty street, whispers trailing behind them like ghosts. Some mocked, some stared in awe, and some just watched, sensing they'd just witnessed the beginning of something no one could yet name. The sun hung low by the time they reached the edge of town. He stopped suddenly, pulling at the iron cuffs still on his wrists. "Why?" he asked, voice low and rough, like gravel dragged through silence. She turned slightly, not looking back. "Because sometimes," she said, "the ones everyone calls broken are the ones who were never given a reason to stand tall." He frowned, uncertain if she was foolish or brave, maybe both. "I don't need saving," he muttered. "Maybe not," she replied, finally meeting his gaze. "But I think you deserve the chance to prove that." They rode in silence for miles, the landscape unfolding into wide, golden stretches of prairie. The air smelled of sage and smoke. And somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled as if calling out to a lost brother. Every now and then, he'd glance at her, the way she held the reins steady. The calm in her posture. She wasn't like the others. No fear. No judgment. Just quiet strength wrapped in dust and sunset. And though he wouldn't admit it, something inside him stirred, not gratitude, but a faint memory of what it felt like to be seen as something other than a weapon. When night came, they stopped by a creek. She started a small fire and handed him a tin cup of coffee. He hesitated before taking it, his chains rattling softly. "You planning to keep me in irons forever?" he asked dryly. She smiled faintly. "Only until I'm sure you won't kill me in my sleep." He looked away, a smirk ghosting over his lips. "If I wanted to, you'd already be dead." Her voice came steady, unwavering. "Maybe. But something tells me you're tired of spilling blood." The firelight danced in his eyes, reflecting a storm of pain and defiance. "You don't know what I've done." "No," she said, staring into the flames, "but I know what they've done to you. And that's enough." For the first time, he didn't have an answer. The night settled into a strange peace, too. Souls from different worlds, sitting on opposite sides of a dying fire, each carrying scars too deep for words. The stars stretched endlessly above them. And somewhere in that silence, the chains that bound more than his wrists began to loosen. She lay down to rest, whispering, "Tomorrow, we start over. You'll work the land, earn your freedom, and maybe find yourself again." He watched her for a long time, unable to sleep. The world had taken everything from him, his people, his pride, his name. But as he sat there, the fire flickering against his rough features, he realized something strange. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like prey. Morning came with the cry of hawks. The sun painted the horizon gold as they saddled their horses. The road ahead was long, uncertain, but different now. Each mile would test them: trust, patience, forgiveness. He didn't thank her. She didn't expect him to. But deep down, in the quiet places of his soul, something small but powerful began to grow. The kind of hope that only takes root when someone dares to see worth where the world sees nothing. And as they rode toward the open plains, the town of Redwater fading behind them, the wind carried a whisper that would one day become legend. She bought the savage not to own him, but to free him. Days turned into weeks. And the men once called savage worked the land from dawn till dusk. The ranch was quiet, filled with the sounds of wind through grass and the steady rhythm of rebuilding. He mended fences, broke wild horses, and began to feel strength in purpose instead of rage. One evening, while tending the fire, he spoke for the first time of his past: a village burned, a family lost, a heart hardened by betrayal. She listened without pity, only understanding. "You were never savage," she said softly. "You were surviving." Something inside him broke, then healed. That night, he looked toward the stars and whispered his real name. Kale. The word felt strange but right. For the first time, he smiled. She didn't see it, but the fire caught its reflection. He was no longer her purchase, nor her project. He was a man reborn. And deep within, he vowed to protect the woman who had seen him long before he saw himself.